we were talking about Eno. That was a funny story that you met him in a restaurant.
Yeah, I heard a man struggling with a menu, and in Japan, and I heard my friend was with a friend who was bilingual, and I said, "Oh, do you want my friend to help you translate the menu?" And it turns out it was Brian Eno.
And you didn't even realize?
No.
See, he's not that smart then. If he didn't even know what was on the menu.
But he was with a hot girl, though.
I know.
So he's smart enough to get a hot girl.
I think he definitely has always had birds around him, that bloke. He's one of them blokes. He's
one of those guys that's like sneaky.
He
sneakily gets the hot girl.
He slips him round the back. He's one of them. Gives it all the smoke and mirrors, but then slips it round the back. He's one of them. He's one of them guys. Let's play another song. I'm so impressed.
Somewhere Brian Eno's driving in a car. He's driving off the road. What?
Yeah, he don't live out here, though, does he? I went to a lecture, I told you.
There might be more than one Brian Eno, for all we know.
Well, if holograms have got anything to do with it, there's probably a bunch.
I bet he knows about all that stuff.
I bet he does. Don't you think, I've said this before on the show, that, like, scientists, they think about that stuff so much that they go crazy. They don't know about what's going on in the real world.
Well, have you heard about, there's this new, well, it's not a movement, but there's this, the articles have been written about these guys now that they're getting into the quantum, subatomic level, they're converting to God. Because when they get down to that level, there's no other explanation for their scientific mind but that there's a higher being, because they can't explain with science what's going on at the subatomic level. So they're literally, guys who are complete atheists are becoming completely, God.
What do you mean subatomic level?
Well, there's things that happen at the smallest levels of quantum physics with particles and string theories and all this stuff, that guys, when they get down to that level and they actually see how we're put together, the universe is constructed, they have no other explanation but God.
What do you do you believe in a
I
God?
absolutely believe that there's some sort of person up there running something.
Yeah. Is he up there though, in the clouds?
Who knows?
Or is he just? I think we all are.
The ancients used to believe that God lived in the earth and they'd stomp on the ground, when they would dance, So, I mean, Jesus said, I'm everywhere, so I'll go with that one,
Did you believe in Jesus?
I do believe Jesus existed. I think, unfortunately, Jesus and his life has been completely perverted along the way, but, I believe there's been people who've shown up at different times that, got it right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you think about it, take somebody like Jesus, I mean, his message, which is so incredibly simple, is endured for 2,000 years, and there's a reason that somehow the truth in the message gets through all the other junk that's been thrown on top of it, with the funny hats and the red coats and the whole thing, The simplicity of what somebody's saying, which is love is the answer, and, it's the highest form of anything, and, turn the other cheek and these types of things. I mean, that's pretty true,
The Buddha are pretty good. I think they're pretty... That's pretty much the same thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Jesus... There's even evidence that Jesus studied in the East, that he that's why there's not much in the Bible about Jesus up until about the age of 30, is because he traveled. He went to the Far East. There's some evidence he went to England and studied with these, these yogi and stuff. Came back and sort of brought the Eastern consciousness to the West.
It's like anything, though, isn't it? You get your one person who's genuine... Then you get all the vultures honing in, and then...
It seems to me, you still got bands copying the Sex Pistols, right? I mean, you get the one original solid thing, and then everybody just works on the blueprint,
Right. But that's what I mean, like with the Bible. You got your vultures in there saying one thing. Who knows what's in the Bible if that's half of it's true?
Well, not even that. I think it was around 300 A.D., they had a big conference where they threw out a lot of Gospels. There's Gospels that got thrown out, like rejected B-sides. So, the Bible is the A-sides, but there's all these other B-sides that you could argue are just as important.
Yeah. I think people are scared to be alone. That's what I have to follow. Because to me, that's what the Bible is. It's following something.
Well, there's I think it's I'm not sure which gospel it is, but Jesus, it might be Gospel of St. Thomas, Jesus, which is a thrown-out gospel. Jesus literally says you don't need a church.
Right.
I mean, he literally says there's no need. Basically, a church is when people congregate, which is why a concert is such a great experience. It's about bringing people together.
Right.
And it's a religious experience at times because of the communion. And that's basically what he was saying. It's that you don't need all this stuff.
All the money.
Yeah, and all that. Because, anybody with power perverts it,
Yeah.
Whether it's a pope or a rock star, something gets in the brain there, messes you up.
So there is a devil then? There's two sides.
I think the devil is self-created. I think we make our own devils.
Yeah, I don't mean. Yeah, but that's it. We're just the same as humans, though.
Right.
We're created.
Right.
You know what I mean? In a way.
But I don't vision that there's a place for like a guy with a pitchfork.
No, not shoveling coal down there. And it's all.
But I would like to think there's a place that certain people go.
People you don't like.
Well, people that do horrible things.
I hope so. Yeah. Do you believe in life after death then?
I believe we're reincarnated.
But you don't know it when you come back?
I actually had past life experience. I had somebody hypnotize me and had a past life experience. It was pretty crazy.
What was you? A sailor or something?
No, it was sort of different. She sort of hypnotized me and asked me to sort of go up to a cabinet and pull these objects out and what do I see, and sort of walked along this thing, and next thing I know it was like the 1800s, and I was in this house and I was a small child, and I was watching my mother from another room make food, and there was this sort of cold, distant feeling, and I couldn't understand why I wasn't allowed to go in the kitchen, and I've read this about other people too. It's like when you have past life regressions, you'll see somebody in the the hypnotized state or whatever that doesn't look like the person in your life, but when you look at them, it's the person. You could see it in the eyes or something. And so it was somebody in my life, and it was like in the past life regression, the person in my life, it was the same relationship, this cold feeling, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't be closer to this person.
What did you think you gained from? Did you gain anything from that?
It actually brought me a lot of peace, because it helped me understand that the problem with this person was a problem not only of this lifetime. It was a longer problem. We like to solve problems right away. It's our nature. But sometimes if you understand that a problem is deeper rooted, it gives you a sense of peace. I don't know your family history, but whatever your family history, those problems go back generations.
Yeah.
Whether in my family, alcoholism or whatever it goes, the problems continue to tumble down the generations. Even if the next generation doesn't have an alcohol problem, they've had to deal with people, and then they end up being with people who are alcoholics, and
they're drawn to alcohol.
Yeah, so it's like a legacy that goes through things. And it made me feel that there was a legacy to this particular issue with this person in my life that was deeper than just what was going on in the moment. It actually brought me a lot of peace.
Excellent. Let's play another song off your record.
Yes, a Bee Gees song.
What made you do this one?
I just love this song.
Yeah.
To Love Somebody.
I'm a fan of the Bee Gees.
Fantastic group. What I love about this song is just it's very hard to say that one line that says everything. And when he sings, you don't know what it's like to love somebody the way I love you. I think that's just such a brilliant line, because it's so simple, but everybody understands that line.
Yeah. Okay, let's play it. This is Billy Corgan's new album, The Future Embrace. Am I saying that right?
Yes, sir.
Take it away, Mr. Shovel. The Jones's Jukebox on Indie 1031 with my guest, Billy Corgan. And that was The Pleasure Principle. That was Gary Newman.
Yeah.
And that song was Cars. You ever met him? You read his book, right?
Yeah, no, I've met Gary many times.
I met him in Vancouver once. I was there doing this movie, The Ladies and Gentlemen, The Fabulous Stains, and I was there for like 3 months. So anytime, and I always stayed at this hotel called the Denman Inn, and anytime a band would come in, I would latch onto them just to talk to him, just because I was so outgoing.
You needed a friend.
Bored out my brain, and he came there, and we went up to this mountain called Grouse Mountain. It's like a ski resort, and I remember just going up there and drinking these hot toddies, and I was talking to him. I don't know what he was talking about, I can't remember, but I just wanted to speak to someone who was from like England, But he's an interesting cat.
He's a very sweet man, I think.
That was a funny story you were telling me. Because he likes to fly himself.
Yeah, he's a pilot, and I read his autobiography, and as a promotional thing, he flew around the Earth for one of his albums, and then he tells a story about being over the Pacific in the dead of night and his plane dying, and them falling like a stone, into the ocean, and the plane started back up when they got low, and they went back up, and then it stopped again, and they found out that something was freezing, like a line was freezing, and then the gas line, but they almost died, yeah.
Do you like flying?
I'm not a big fan of it.
Me neither.
I always wish I could just get on the plane, take some sort of magic pill, and then wake up, and I'd be, in the next place,
Yeah.
It's all, like, if you travel, if anybody who travels a lot knows this, I've grown to hate airport culture.
Yeah.
Like the way everyone acts at the airport, the way everyone dresses like a tourist, and their sandals on the plane.
Well, everyone's uptight. Everyone's nervous as you are.
Well, yeah, and then the airlines are terrible now, and just the whole.
They really
and then
are.
the announcement, no one listens, and and then the whole thing, like as if a plane hurtling at 600 miles an hour, like it's going to matter that your seatbelt is on.
Yeah.
It's going to do you any good,
They really. I find that they have deteriorated a lot. Plane companies,
Yeah.
My friend went to he told me he went to Paris on Air France. He said it was the worst experience in first class, and he still had to wait in line to check his bags in. It's just all a mess.
Yeah.
In airports and whatever. It's all a mess right now. The only way to fly is on a private plane. That's where you got to get some pals with
like you have. I don't have those friends anymore.
I don't go anywhere.
You got those friends.
I have a couple, but I don't go anywhere, so it don't matter. But I'd rather not. I hate the experience of going to an airport. It gives me so much anxiety. I'm like sweating before I've even, like the night before, thinking about what a nightmare it's going to be.
Right.
But that's what you're saying. I wish there was something, but not when you get on a plane. When you wake up in the morning, take a pill, and the next time you wake up, you're in the hotel, wherever you're going.
Yeah.
That'd be the way to go.
Well, pretty soon they'll get the teleporters.
Yeah.
Once we figure out we're holograms, then...
Yeah. It's the future. It is the future. Before that was Visage. The Damned Don't Cry is the name of that album. And that song was Fade to Grey. And the singer was Steve Strange. Ooh.
Did you know Steve Strange?
Yeah, I did indeed. Bent as a 9-bob note, but he was a sweet guy. And a junkie too. But he was very into fashion. And he had this club called the Blitz. And it was up in Holborn. You know Holborn?
Mm-mm.
Up like kind of West London. No, like in the middle, right in the middle of central London. And it was all in the 80s when everyone was wearing the big shoulder pads and tons of makeup and hairdos, and the Pistols were over, and I was kind of hanging out there. And you ever hear that guy Marilyn?
Yeah.
Boy George. It was that whole scene where like blokes were kissing blokes, and birds were kissing birds, and I was there in the background watching it all go on.
Did you enjoy it?
I did, but I didn't really get any luck because I was kind of pretty straight. I was not into dressing up like that, you know what I mean?
It's a good thing you didn't, because imagine the pictures now. They'd be haunting you on the internet.
Oh God, horrendous. Imagine me.
So I have lots of those pictures.
What, with all
done up. All done up.
Oh well, there's a lot of things you do. Did
you ever how like Google now you can search yourself, but you can search your images. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, you put your name in Google and you hit images, and it's all these people, all these different pictures. So there'll be fans on their website. There'll be a picture that they took of you, at an autograph signing or whatever. But then there's all these other pictures that you don't remember taking. You're like, whoa, what was I thinking there?
Yeah.
Various things attached to your head and.
No, I've done a few pictures where I'm kind of embarrassed by.
Yeah.
But
I can't think of a picture I've ever seen you where you looked poorly.
Well, there was a phase in the 80s where I had like really long hair and I was into like the rock thing.
I do remember that part of your life, yes.
I mean, I was getting laid left, right and centre. As far as getting laid, that was the best years of my life.
It was the long hair and the bad attitude? Or?
And the motorcycle and the rock thing.
Yeah.
Pre-AIDS, it was...
I don't understand girls that go for that, but I guess they would say they wouldn't be interested in me anyway. But I don't understand that whole motorcycle tough guy tattoo thing.
Yeah, I don't get it either. But I was getting laid left and right. It was awesome time. And Now now it's just me and Pamela, the History Channel, and PlayStation games.
I'm going to sneeze, excuse me.
Can you get a hologram for me? Can I get a witness with a hologram here? Anyway, it's all good stuff. I must say, in my old age, I'm a lot happier with myself, you know. I find that is true. And you know what I find myself doing a lot lately is looking at old people and thinking, like, what's going on? Because that's kind of like your next... I'm 50
right.
in a month or two. And I start being more aware of old people, and I like look at them and trying to think what's going on with them, you know.
Right.
Whereas before you never took a blind bit of notice of an old person. You know what I mean? And it's weird. I'm thinking, oh God, is that the next step? Is that it? That's the next step. Looking at these old people hobbling around with walking sticks and whatnot, and no one gives them the time of day, you know. And they was me once, and they was young once.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, like, you know, sometimes you look at, like, you see a grandma and you just know that she was a hot rocker when she was young.
Yeah, she was having fun like what everyone else was at one point.
But now she's all done up, you know, with the hair and the... But you know, back in the day...
Yeah. It's a strange thing, isn't it, life? It really is. It's a small... Our lives... Like when I watch the History Channel, and I'm watching, like, whatever I'm watching, something from the war, whatever, and there's some blokes messing around with a gun or something, and you just think, them guys are dead now, they've gone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they might not have died in that war, but they died. You know,
yeah.
You die.
Yeah.
You die, and it's. I don't know why I keep thinking of all that stuff. It's weird.
You thinking of death a lot?
Well, it's not like I'm not a morbid person, but I don't know. I think it's just the process of getting old. You know, your brain changes,
mm-hmm.
and it starts getting, you know, queued up for the next. You know,
right.
It's like the process. I'm sure it's the process. You know, I've never been 50 before.
Right.
You know, and I'm thinking of new things that I didn't think of when I was 30. You know, you don't when you're 30 or 40. Even 40, I wasn't even thinking of stuff like that.
Well, you know, as long as you're still rocking, which you are.
I'm rocking.
As long as it still works, you know, downstairs.
Well, there's always pills for that, for when that does become a problem. You know.
There she's calling now.
Breaking news. Viagra on sale. 10% off. No, I never use it. I tried it once. My head started throbbing. We're going to play a song. We're going to visit the Duke. We're here with Billy Corgan, and we'll be right back after these messages. Thanks for listening.
Really only want to deal with people who are really just good people.
Yeah. I've
sort of had my run-ins with the various other versions, you know.
It gets old, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't want to complain, but I think it's strange when you have success in life, and you see this with anybody, you attract certain types of people to you, and I'm not sure what they see in you, but it's not necessarily what you think they see.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it may be based to reduce it to something like money or the fact that you're known or something, but it seems to kind of augment the natural chemistry between people.
Well, I think
that's why I live in my little holographic mind and just try to write sad songs with bread chords. And
you do it well, man.
Thank you.
You do it very well. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Jonesy.
And that is it. I'll be back tomorrow at 12 bells. You can catch the first hour of this show from 6 to 7 tonight. The second hour of this show from 6 to 7 in the morning. And what's tomorrow? Thursday? Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. See you then. Bye-bye.